Hello, Radhika. Hello, Prasad. Good morning.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice, loud and clear.
Good. So, Prasad, over to you to lead us today. I just feel so privileged and grateful. Today is, I think, Baisakhi also. So
Oh,
it's a special day. Again, special day to celebrate yellow and ochre, which is the Lumiere color. So I feel
yeah,
so. Over to you.
good. Thank you. So, what we will do is usually, whenever I start my gathering, we start by chanting the Om. So, if you don't mind, we will start by chanting the Om, and then I will guide you all in just like a 5 minute um, physical relaxation along with breathing. Okay, so basically what it is that we will uh, focus on each part of the body and consciously relax it. It's called conscious relaxation. You know, usually when we do breathing exercise, our attention tends to be kind of, dense only in one part, or at office, if you're crunching numbers, if you're doing something creative, you'll feel that the energy of the body is usually only limited, or you can feel the energy more in your head. So what we do with this is we consciously dissipate the energy, we consciously actually distribute the physical energy, or in the language of yoga, prana, uh, around the body for a complete sensation of integrity. Like, for example, I'm sure many of you have realized that when you come home, your head is heavy, right? And buzzing. That's because if you're thinking, strategizing, calculating for hours at a stretch, what happens is the energy only starts, roaming around in the head area. So we'll relax that. Okay. So we'll start with chanting the Om. So I'm sure all of you know how to do it, but still you inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, we chant the Om. But when we chant the Om, the makar, that is the sound, has to be longer. Okay. Usually, like for example, even in our building, they have a yoga class, and sometimes they wake us up at 6 o'clock because 30 people doing yoga together, and they chant with O longer, and then just fades away. So we don't do that. We extend the makar. Okay. If you want to join the hands, join the hands. If you don't want to join the hands, no problem. Inhale through the nose. Okay, bring your hands down. Now just sit quietly and listen to my voice. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay. So just sit comfortably and listen to my voice. Okay? So gently relax your body and close your eyes. And bring your attention inward. Bring your attention inward. If you feel your mind rushing outwardly, gently bring it back to your breath. Be with your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Be with your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Now become aware of your feet. Wriggle your toes and just sense your feet. Now inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, feel that your feet are relaxing. Now become aware of your knees, your lower leg, try to sense your knees, your lower legs. Inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, feel that your lower legs are relaxing. Now become aware of your entire lower body, your legs, your hip, your thighs, your knees, your feet. Inhale, and as you exhale, feel your entire lower body relaxing. Now become aware of your back, your lower back, your entire spine, your upper back. You know those places near your shoulder blades that tend to get tight. Inhale, and as you exhale, allow your entire back to relax. Now the front. Become aware of your belly, your heart, your chest. Inhale and relax. Now become aware of your hands, your fingers, your palms, your forearms, your elbow, your upper arms, your shoulders. Inhale and relax. If you want, you could just gently move your shoulders just to feel that relaxation set in. Now become aware of your neck, your jaw, your face, and your head. Your neck, your jaw, your face, and your head. Inhale and relax your neck, your jaw, your face, and your head. Let's do this once again. Inhale. And you exhale, relax your neck, your jaw, your face, and your head. Your entire body is now relaxed. Try to sense that relaxed state of body and mind. And remember, you have the power to relax your mind and body anytime you want. And with that, slowly, whenever you feel comfortable, open your eyes. Okay, so hope you're feeling relaxed now. And just like I said, we all have the power to relax our mind and body whenever we want. In fact, there's a scientific study which says that it takes only 5 breaths. It takes only 5 breaths to completely switch your nervous system from fight and flight to relaxed state. Just 5 breaths. So all you need is 5 breaths to remember and to calm yourselves down. Okay, so it's not so difficult. And you don't need some external guidance as well. What you can do is you can just breathe. Just focus on your breath and just breathe. Okay, so today I don't have much planned because I'm a very spontaneous person. Radhika is very organized, but I am very spontaneous. So that's why I asked Deepa Tai to give me a title, because then I function very well. But then she was also open, so I'm also open. So I want to keep this casual because already our state of affairs that we are in right now, the situations, not just in our country but also globally, are so uncertain, so ambiguous, that somewhere our system, our mind, body, nervous system, economic system, political system, commercial system, whatever you want to call it, every internal and external system is, as they say, in a knee-jerk reaction. And when you have a knee-jerk reaction to something, it takes time always to come back to the normal. We are not living in normal times, so we cannot expect ourselves to be normal. Understand that. This is very important thing to register in our mind, that the global situation is abnormal, so we need not pressure ourselves into trying to be normal, because it is possible only with a lot of work. So what is that work? That work is working within. Understand this. I want to keep it as simple and as basic as we can. External situations will always be uncertain. How much ever we want external situations to be certain, they will never be certain. Right? I mean, market research is a beautiful field for that, because you never know what your data will tell you about the market. That's why we need market research, because we don't know what is the sentiment in the market. And then you actually find what it is. Then you get a definitive answer. And then it can change. That's why you have to do market research every now and then because sentiments change. Same way, globally, if you look at our life, external things will never be certain. You can never definitely say. Did you ever imagine in January that in end of March we will be in such a situation? No. So then what is it that we have in our hands to rely upon? We cannot say that, oh, everything is uncertain, so everything is uncertain. No. So the only thing to rely upon is what we call as personal capital or your inner resource. If outside is uncertain, at least let us try to make the inside certain. If outside is unstable, we have to find out if we can make the inside stable. Is this much clear? Outside will never be stable. How many times we have planned to do something and that plan has not materialized? So many times. Right? But there is something within that we can have control upon. Externalities we cannot control. How much ever we want. Look at our Indian economy. Right? Economics is all about prediction. It's all about forecasting. Why? Why do we need to forecast? Because variables are uncertain. So the only variable we can rely upon is our inner resource. Remember this word, personal capital or inner resource. It is what you have within you psychologically. Okay, it mainly means a psychological resource. That needs to be our anchor. Because when you are well anchored in your inner resource, you are able to face external uncertainties. But if you don't have confidence in your inner resource, every time external uncertainties pop up, you will suffer. Is this much clear? Now, why I am telling you this is because many of us do not invest time to understand and optimize our own inner resource. I am repeating it. Most times we don't invest time to understand and optimize our inner resource. I will clarify this. We all invest time to upskill ourselves professionally. Very good. We all invest time in improving our like physical capital, like money, like titles and things like that. But what I call a personal resource is something deeper than that. What is that personal resource? It is your inner psychological understanding of yourself. Is this much clear? Like, for example, let me give an example. There is a project, and the chief of the company calls two candidates. It's a completely new project for which they will have to invest 1 month of study and then go and pitch to the client or whatever. Now, one person who knows his inner resource, person A knows his inner resource, and person B doesn't know his inner resource. Both are invited for a little interview. So person A who knows his inner resource will say, I have the confidence that I can do the research and be ready for the interview or for the pitch. But person B who doesn't know his confidence will not take up the challenge. This is very similar to the slogan of Lumiere. What is it? Light and insight. Correct? So what we are talking about is the insight part. How much insight do we have in ourselves? How much do you know yourself? For example, when in an interview somebody asks you, tell me about yourself, what is it that we rattle out? Oh, I did my BA from this college, I got 78%. I did my MA from that college, I got 63%. Then I applied for PhD. On the side, I did some trekking. These are not the inner resources that we are talking about. These are activities that we are talking about. Is this clear? We have to find out the inner resource. Now that usually doesn't happen because we are too busy in the doing. This is my first truth bomb. Okay? We are too busy in the doing, because of which we don't have the time for knowing. So in the interview, what you told the interviewer was what all you have achieved and not what all you are. I'm saying it again. In the interview, you have told the interviewer what all you have achieved and not what all you are. That's why if the interviewer would ask you, what do you want from life? This is such a simple and pertinent question, but many people are puzzled by this question. They will have answers to questions like, what do you want from yourself? So they'll say, I want to own a 1,000 square foot house in Bombay. I want to have the latest SUV. I want to earn at least 10 crores in my account so I have secure future. All these numbers are steady. But if they ask, what do you want from life? Don't know. And that's why I liked the slogan of Lumiere, light and insight. So that's why my first, as I said, first main point is that we are too busy in the doing and we don't have time for knowing who ourselves. Like we are experts at general knowledge, but we need to invest time in self-knowledge. We know which celebrity is doing what. Now that's all we are watching, no, on Instagram and all that, no? Which celebrity, yeah, I mean, that's a topic of conversation. Which celebrity cooked khichdi yesterday? We know. But how is COVID situation deeply triggering my insecurities that we don't know? Because we are so busy on swiping up and down our mobile screens that we have not given enough time and effort to introspect. And the insight, sight within is called the insight. That is needed. In yoga, this is called vichara. Now I know in the normal, our day-to-day language, vichara means thinking. No, but whenever you just lesson in Sanskrit, whenever there is a prefix of vi means vishesha. Vishesha means special. Okay? So vichara. Vichara means special kind of thinking. It's not normal thinking. Reflective thinking. With deep honesty. And that's why I know we are all working from home, but we are at home. So maybe we have extra time, at least 1 hour, depending on where you stay, at hand, right? That we are not investing in traveling. Use at least half of that time to sit with yourself. And this is my first practical recommendation. First I gave you theoretical truth bomb. Now the practicality that comes out of it. Okay? So what is that practical method? Invest time in being with yourself. Now you will say, yeah, but I invest time in with myself. No. When you sit with yourself, don't be an economics graduate, don't be an employee of Lumiere, don't be some aspirant of some other thing, don't be a dancer, don't be a mother. No. When you sit with yourself, just be with yourself. Now it is difficult for me to even explain how to do that, because whenever we sit quietly with ourselves, we will immediately be what we are, our roles and identities, isn't it? When you sit quietly for 5 minutes and immediately, oh, I still have to do this, oh, my child will need his breakfast, oh, my father is waiting, oh, my husband. You see? So we need to gently pull ourselves back from all our roles and identities and just be with yourself as a person and not as a personality. Is this clear? If you don't know how to do it, just start by doing it. Like, sometimes they say, if you don't know how to swim, just go into the water. And the natural ability to float will come up. Your buoyancy, the water will hold you. So the first point that I want to make is, we have been too busy, our mind has been too externally oriented, so much so that we have not gotten time to really find out what are my personal resources. Find that, because that is going to be your capital. Of course, you can add things on top of it, but this is what we call is, like I will tell you something, whenever I remember now, perhaps even Radhika remembers, my father, who passed away in 2012, since childhood he's been telling us that no matter what happens in life, like he would say in Marathi, that God has given me 2 hands and 2 feet, I will pull Hatgadi and make my living. Okay? So, that was English, yes, but so what he meant was, see, that was his inner resource. Though he was a lawyer, he was a high court lawyer. He never really needed to pull a Hatgadi, but still he had introspected to such a level that he knew no matter what, even if life takes away everything from him, he will have that core resource which will make him rise like a phoenix. We all need to deeply introspect within and find out our core resource, because all our degrees, our qualifications, our masters and our bachelors and our PhDs and our 15 years work ex, all this depends on that core knowing of your inner resource. Is this clear? Now, we will see how to optimize the inner resource. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about today how to optimize your inner resource, because that's my field of work, inner resource. External resource you can gather from anywhere. Nowadays you have so many online courses, you can sit at home and get external resources, 1 degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree. But my insight is about creating inner resource. So first was, take time for yourself. Number 2, observe yourself. Observe yourself means what? Observe yourself means in an interaction. Like now, if I'm interacting with Radhika, then in that interaction, I will give attention to her, but I will also be observing what is happening in my mind-body system. This is very important. I'm saying it again. Like let's take if you have a conflict at home, if you have an argument with your partner, usually what happens? You go all out to win that argument. So your whole attention is about the other person. Think about this. What I am asking you to do is, let everything not be about the other person. You also inspect what is happening within you. Are you understanding this? Because it is an action-reaction game. We are talking about conflict now. If I am having a debate or argument with you, you are throwing things at me, I am throwing things at you verbally. Then what happens is, we want to just win that argument, so our full focus is on the other person. What I am asking you to do is, whilst doing this argument, you also watch yourself. That will give you an insight into yourself. Don't lose that opportunity to learn about yourself whilst you are busy doing your things. Is this clear? Once you start practicing all this, you will understand. Third is take care of yourself. This is perhaps second truth bomb. Take care of yourself means what? Means, again, exactly what I said some time back, that we are so busy doing that we forget the doer. We are rushing the whole day so much that we have to wait for the weekend to take care of ourselves. But then on the weekend we have social commitments, so then the next weekend, and then the next weekend. And then what happens is, we ignore ourselves at many levels, at the physical level, at the psychological level. So my deep request to you or suggestion to you would be to invest time in taking care of yourself, and however you want to do that. My suggestion would be to invest in some form of physical exercise. Now, whatever it may be yoga, asana, it may be gym, it may be Zumba, Bollywood dancing, whatever it is, just get moving. Just do something for your body. It's called the Sharira Rina. Sharira Rina means the debt that you have to pay for the body, maintenance. Because ultimately, your physical body is one of the most important resource that you have. Now, basically, why are we sitting at home? Right? In this coronavirus situation, why are we sitting at home? To protect our physical body, isn't it? We are sitting at home not because we have nothing else to do. We are sitting at home to protect our physical body. And that's why it's important to take time to maintain our physical body. I have seen so many people, including some of my friends, I would say, who have very expensive cars, and their car goes for oiling, waxing, washing every week, every day. They are investing 4,000-5,000 rupees every month for the car cleaner, but they do nothing for themselves. Okay? So I want to summarize these 3 points. What were the 3 points? Number 1, what was it? Let's start from the back. Take time for yourself. Take time for yourself means disciplined physical maintenance. Because it really happens. Think about it. How many times you have realized, oh, I put on weight because I've been ignoring myself, my diet. My lower back hurts because I don't do any exercise for my lower back. My migraine keeps coming again and again. And then what happens is, ignoring your body becomes a habit. And one day you just give up. And then something happens, some heart attack or some sudden illnesses happen, and then the doctor tells you what to do, which you intuitively know you should have done since last 5 years. So it's very important to take care of your body. Don't take your body for granted. You know, there's a beautiful line, Deho Devalaya, means the body is truly the temple. So take care of the body. Number 2 was, when you are in an interaction with somebody, what do? You observe yourself, not just fully focus on the other person. And number 3 was what? Can anybody remind me?
They're all mute.
Sit
Yeah.
with yourself.
Sorry?
Sit with yourself.
Sit with your.
Take care of.
Correct. Yeah. These are all cyclic, okay? Once you initiate one action, everything will start roaming in the circle. Okay? Now, again, why are we doing this? We are doing this to optimize our inner resource. Because when we do these 3 things, something beautiful happens. We become our own friend. I'm saying it again. When you start taking care of yourself, when you give attention to yourself, when you observe yourself, you get to know yourself. Now, when you become your own friend, your confidence of facing external challenges increases. You will not feel alone, you will not feel lonely when life demands something extra from you. How many of you would like to be your own friend first instead of going out and looking for more friends on Facebook? Raise your hand. Yes. Why is it? Why? Think about this. Why is it that we have difficulty in sitting quietly with ourselves? Because inside our head we are not friends. We are not friends with ourselves. I'm sure some of you are, but I'm just generalizing. So we want to catch an external friend. Like whenever you're feeling a little not so happy, not so nice, you call a friend. Hey, how are you? What's up? No, just wanted to talk to you. And then you feel reassured. It is nice. I'm not saying this is not nice. But what if there is this strong confidence inner you that you could rely on, that you could reach out to before you reach out to somebody external? Wouldn't that be amazing? This is what I call inner resource. Be your own friend first. Now, believe you me, I am not saying this. This is written in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6. Krishna tells Arjuna that you should become your own friend. Only then you can lift yourself up. And Krishna says again in chapter 6, verse number 6, shloka 6, that if you are not your own friend, you're gone. Then you don't need enemies outside of you. Imagine, outside everybody is your friend, but inside your head you are your own enemy. It happens. Many psychological disorders, you see that. People have good jobs, good family, good income, good lifestyle, yet inside their head they are not their own friend. And then what happens? none of the external things matter. This is something important that we need to invest time. See, every friendship is an investment, yes or no? Let's take external friendship. Like, let's say you are single. Now you miss having a special person in your life. So you go on a date, and then you find somebody nice. So you go on another date, and then another date, and then another. That is investment, no? It may not sound romantic, but it is investment. You go on one day, and then messaging the whole night, and go on another day. It is investment. Slowly, what happens? The friendship matures and blossoms into love. Same journey we have to do with ourselves. And that's why I said, take time. Take yourself for a cup of nice coffee. Sit with yourself there, without your phone. Otherwise, what will happen? You will go on a date with yourself and start messaging your friends. That is not what we want. Be your own friend first. Then what will happen when life throws a curveball at you, or like we say in India, life gives you lemons. Then you have a whole master chef inside to make a lemonade. And you will say, no problem. Or at work, if somebody asks you, can you do this project? Really? You just have to close your eyes and talk to the inner friend. Say, can we do it? Yes. Okay, let's do it. The sense of motivation, the sense of what you call positivity is within you. You don't have to reach out for external resources. And this is inner confidence that we need to gradually develop. Okay? Now, this was one point. Become your own friend. But then what about the inner enemies? How many of you have inner enemies? So we all have. Now, see, I am giving you a life strategy. It's like, the global geopolitics. China is becoming friends with Russia, so India has to become friends with America. It's really like that. So we are becoming our own friend, but what about the already present inner enemies? We have to work on them too, isn't it? So how will we work on inner enemies? Number one, observe your self-talk. You know what is self-talk? The story that goes around in your head the entire day. How is it that you behave with yourself? When you are alone with yourself, how is the mental conversation? Are you beating yourself up? Are you continuously putting yourself down? Are you happily singing a song? Are you uncomfortable being alone with yourself? Are you always planning the future? Are you always blaming your present? Are you always being dragged into your past? What is the nature of conversation that you have when you are not conversing outwardly? This says a lot about your relationship with yourself. Like if you have neighbors and every night you hear them shouting at each other, quarreling, what do you conclude? That their relationship is not good, isn't it? Same way, if you're quarreling with yourself all the time, or majorly, may not be all the time, like sometimes one simple thing goes wrong and you say, look, this is how you are, you always do this. That is called self-talk. And we all need to observe our self-talk. Because our talk becomes our thought. And thought becomes your belief. And belief becomes your identity. I'm saying it again. Your self-talk becomes your thought, thinking. Repeated thinking becomes your belief. And a stable belief becomes your personality, your identity. And that's why, remember, I told you that start observing yourself. Whenever you're behaving in the world, 1/4 of the mind should be observing how you react to the action. Only then you will be able to know how you converse with yourself. So we have to manage the self-talk. Now, how to manage the self-talk? It will happen gradually. First, you have to start observing. First, you have to realize, how do I treat myself inside my own head? And then you can do some things to stop that. Next and very important point. And this is I can go on this point for 10 hours. I do 200-hour seminars on this one topic. Your self-worth. Understand what this is? Your self-worth. Stop valuing yourself based on others' opinion of you. I am saying it again. Stop valuing yourself based on others' opinion of you. It happens a lot in consulting industry. My company gets $100 per hour when they send me to client's office. That means my value is $100. No, that is not your value. That is the value of your service, not your value. Are you understanding this point? Please try to understand this point. There is a you and there is a service that you give. There will be valuation to the service, but that valuation doesn't or shouldn't become your valuation. Please understand that. Now, this will be difficult for us to even understand, because all we have done in our life is value ourselves based on what we do or what we give. That's why what happens is, when people lose their job, they go in depression, because suddenly there is nothing to give them value. Happens a lot with people who retire, people who don't have an exit strategy, people who don't have hobbies or friends. They will go in depression. And then sometimes the company has to rehire them just to keep their mental health in balance. Are you understanding what I just said? Stop giving yourself value based on other people's opinion of you. If your father says, no, you're not a good singer, that is his opinion. If your mother says, no, you're not good at mathematics, that is her opinion. Opinions do not have to become you. Understand this? You say, oh, I did not like this movie. Okay, that is your opinion. I will go and watch that movie and I will decide for myself. What we usually do is, we accept the opinion of others because we don't know ourselves. If somebody says, no, you are a lazy person, we feel bad. Why do we feel bad? Because we accept his opinion. Yes or no? No, you're not motivated enough. Oh, then we come home with a sulk face. And then we say, oh no, you know what? Today my friend said I'm not motivated enough. Why did you feel bad? Because you believed it. Why did you believe your friend's opinion? Is because you have no understanding about yourself. If you were your own friend and if you knew yourself, when your friend said, no, but you're a lazy person, you would have said, hey, just because I take things slowly doesn't mean I'm lazy. You understand the difference? This is why it is very, very important to understand ourselves. And please don't get pressured by whatever I'm saying, because you have an entire life to work on all this. This is not going to happen in 1 month or 2 weeks, or don't say till the lockdown is over, I will finish with my negative self-talk. No, it's not going to happen. Okay? So these are our inner enemies. Understand this. What are our inner enemies? Our negative self-talk. Our habit of accepting other people's opinion blindly. And I will tell you the third very, very strong enemy. Comparison. Always comparing yourself with others to know where you stand in life. I have a bigger car than him, therefore I am better. No. In this lockdown we can see that education has zero value. Why? Because so-called educated people who supposedly know a lot about things in the world are also strolling around in the time when government is asking you to stay at home. Yes, watch the movie, watch the TV. Police is beating up people, and we cannot say people who are going out on the street just for fun in this lockdown period are uneducated, uninformed people. No. There are people who are well educated, swollen with pride, who are stepping out of their homes purely to show that they are entitled. Now, where is the education? What happened to their MA and PhD and MBA when they don't have a common sense to stay at home? So just because things look good, or as they say, it's greener, or do you say, on the other side, doesn't mean your patch is not so nice. Stop comparing yourself with others. Invest that same energy in discovering yourself. Okay? So take care of your, manage your, and like they say, optimize your inner friend and reduce your inner enemy. And this is the balance that we have to create. You know, Carl Jung, he used to say, the one who looks outside dreams, one who looks within awakens. And we all need to take this lockdown time to just come out as a better version of ourselves. Like animals go in hibernation, like the caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. We are all hibernating now. We have taken a step back as a civilization. Let us make this step back into something valuable and meaningful for our lives. Okay? So, the topic that I have spoken on, like I said, is lifetime worth of work. If you believe in next lifetime, then next lifetime also. Okay? But let's take one lifetime at a time. So, remember the first breathing exercise that we did? Use that breathing exercise whenever, wherever you can. For 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Or what I could do is, I can send Deepak the link of some of my guided meditations, which are available online free on YouTube channel. You just feel free to download them. And if you're traveling by bus or something like that, just plug it. Each meditation is between 12 to 15 minutes. There are 3-4 types of meditations. Just do them. Because whatever 2 strategies that we discussed will only work when your mind is calm. When your mind is not calm, it will forget everything. When the mind is not calm, you will not remember what you have to do. When the mind is calm, you will know exactly what you need to do. So, all of you need to generate some protocols in life to keep your mind calm no matter what the situation is. Okay? So the first exercise will help you with that. Now, we will throw open the house for Q&A.
Prasad, this was simply marvelous. Thank you very, very much. Very pertinent, very relevant. And even though I've heard you say this, I still have copious notes of 6 pages.
Oh, very good.
Okay, Disha has a question. Let me unmute. Disha is unmuted.
Hi. Yeah, it was an amazing talk. I really liked, especially that we focused about our inner talk. I think that is very important. Another thing, because we're talking in the context of this current situation, like, are there any other physical exercises or physical areas that we should look at, because corona is also, it affects the respiratory system. So is there anything like that which we can also practice that can help us build that immunity or that strength?
Yes, keep your stress low. Keep your stress low, because respiratory system doesn't just work only with lungs. The main point here is to get enough sleep. Get enough sleep and keep the stress low, because when you don't get enough sleep, your whole system goes in inflammatory mode. And if your physical system is in inflammation all the time, chance of infection is more. Understand that. Now, for example, why do they say that cancer patients are more at risk, old people are more at risk? Not because they're old. There are 70, 80-year-old people who have recovered also. Because as you get older, inflammatory response of your body increases. And when the inflammation in the body increases, chance of infection increases. Understand? So just see to it that you sleep well. So well means get some good 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. You drink good enough water. Don't worry too much. Because what is happening now is everybody's glued on to TV and everybody's like, today so many died. Oh, so many died. But nothing. In America, 6,000 died. Oh, India, 1,000. It's like you're checking a cricket score, I feel it like that. How many from Thane? How many from Bombay? In Jalgaon, 5 died. In Ahmednagar, 6 died. It's like count going on, statistics. If that will also trigger your nervous system. So I would suggest just take small breaks. Now you're all at home. So after you work for like 1.5 hours, just take a break for 10 minutes. Just lie down and just breathe. Just breathe. However you breathe, just breathe. Now one simple equation for that is breathe out longer than you breathe in. So if you breathe in for 2 counts, breathe out for 4 counts. That's it. Longer exhalations will relax your nervous system more. I'm just giving it to you in simple form. Longer exhalations will relax you. When the nervous system or the mind is relaxed, inflammatory response is less. When inflammatory response is less, capacity to fight infection is more. Okay?
So are there any myths that you wish to bust? So it was a broad question saying, are there certain myths about yoga that should be busted? That was one. And there was another question which was about kids and managing kids in this lockdown period that a mother had sent, and what is the best sort of way of engaging them or getting them to even their energy, and how do you sort of maintain that aspect?
Oh, I'll take the kids first, because the first one, the myth busting thing, that's my profession. So I'm professionally a myth buster and not much appreciated in holistic spiritual circles, because I bust myths. But so that will be a big conversation. But with managing kids, I have to say just one thing. Give them a lot of attention, give them a lot of love, and just spend this lockdown to how much ever kids irritate you. Just give them so much attention, so much love, that never ever in life they will ever feel that they were never loved by their parents. Because we will never ever get this opportunity to be with our kids 24/7 like this every day. Okay, so if you have this, if you have like say 1 hour to teach them life skills, or just sit quietly with them and play with their hair and just hug them and cuddle them, do the other one. Just be with them. Because what the kids need is love, assurance, validation. That's it. Whatever you give them in this period of togetherness, it will last you their entire life. Even if they flunk their 6th grade, 7th grade, because they studied online, doesn't matter. I would rather have a child who is validated and assured of my love than a child who has flunked 6th grade. Understand? I am coming back to basics. Oh, my kids are irritating me. They are at home the whole day. Of course, you are also at home, not just your kids. Just be with them, give them love, give them so much love that the kids should be like, Mom, enough now. Really, I'm touching upon a very important point here. Don't be at home and then again become the same work professional that you are. This is a very sacred time. Lockdown is a sacred time to work on ourselves, to work on our near and dear ones, and to eliminate the karmic baggage. Sorry, now I might sound an esoteric, but really eliminate, especially with parents. If your children are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and if you feel, oh no, I have not given them enough attention till now, now is your chance. I have 14 more days. Kids will remember this should be such a happy moment for them that they will, even after 20 years, they'll say, remember Mom, during the lockdown, it was so nice. This should be how they should be feeling. Don't irritate them just like you irritate them in normal life. Remember, I have told you these are special times, and special times need to be worked out with special strategies.
Tanvi, you want to say anything?
Yes, I really enjoyed the session and the way you described this, how to deal with kids, particularly in this time when even kids are, really very, very irritated. I think just bang on. Thank you so much.
See, the thing is, just like I mentioned earlier, you and your child. Now, what do we say usually? Oh, my child is irritating me. Now, we should look at it not as my child is irritating me. We should look at it as what is irritating me. Understand this. This is what I'm saying, the inside out way of looking. Don't say your child is irritating me. Say what is irritating me from the child. What is it that's triggering me? What is it that's unsettling me? As they say, the child is just a nimitta karana. Nimitta karana means just an instrumental cause. Think it's your child, so, but still, what is it that my little boy is doing that is triggering me all the time? So this is our opportunity to understand ourselves. Just give the child an iPad and make him busy. No, you will lose a very important life lesson when you do that. Like in the Upanishad, they say, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. Why? Because just like God, the parents or the children or the relatives are also continuously teaching us life lessons. But we are so busy looking at them as a person and an individual, that we miss out on the lesson. So next time your child irritates you or your husband irritates you, just look at them and just try to find out what is it within me that's getting triggered and work on that.
Prasad, this self-talk that you spoke of was so bang on, and I think so important because we are a bunch of high achievers. So there is always this drive to do the best of and be the best of whatever we can in all our roles. So being okay with not being okay that you always talk about, maybe you should, and acknowledging that we are a work in progress. Maybe you want to talk about that piece.
See, when you look at your 5-year-old child, you don't say he's a immature adult, right? You call your 5-year-old child a 5-year-old child, right? You don't look at the little shrub and call it a stunted tree. No, it is a shrub, right? You don't see a small little cat and call it an immature cat. No, it's a kitten. Same way, why should you blame yourself when you are a work in progress? Now, if you are a baker, you do all the setting for baking a cake and then you put it in the oven. Do you call it cake? No, it's not a cake. You say, I'm making a cake. It's not done yet. It's not gone through the heat for 45 minutes. Why? It's work in progress. That's why we have to stop expecting perfection from ourselves when we are a work in progress. We are a work in progress and we are always a work in progress. So have goals for yourself, have high standards for yourself, no problem. But don't let those high standards stunt your own growth. So it's okay to not be okay. Look around you. What is not in transition? Everything around you is in transition. The nature of the world, the universe is transition. So why should you be an exception? Were you like this 2 years ago? No, your hairstyle was different. Your maturity level was different. Things were different. Will you be like this after 5 years? No. So why to expect steadiness? Not just like they say, go with the flow. Again, I'm not saying don't have ambitions, don't have goals. Have. But the goals should motivate you, not put you down. And most of us, our goals are so high, our benchmarks are so high that we rarely achieve them. You understand this? It's like people who have no money, they sometimes start thousands of crores of business just on borrowing. And like Indian banking system is going through an NPA crisis, no non-performing asset crisis, because you have no idea what is your asset. That's why it's okay to fail. It's okay to not be as good as others. It's okay because that is life. And if you want some good motivation, look at our politicians. They mess up situations so many times, but still we vote for them, isn't it? I mean, look at Donald Trump, look at Bill Clinton, look at George Bush, look at our own Indian politicians. They are not perfectionists, but we have given them our vote and asked them to lead us, and still they are messing up. So who are you? You to chota mota aadmi. You also mess up. No problem. It's okay. It's okay. Don't take yourself seriously. Take yourself sincerely. So failures are okay. Not performing to the best of your ability is okay. The only thing is not okay. The only thing that is not okay is not being honest with yourself. You don't take license. Oh, Prasad said it's okay to not be, it's okay to be lazy. You know, not like this. I'm saying that. Why am I saying this? Is ultimately we are responsible to ourselves. No? So be responsible to yourselves. It's okay to fail because every failure is a learning lesson. Let's say I fail at something. How does that self-talk thing work? If I don't perform well in my presentation, immediately the negative self-talking mind will start blaming you instead of learning from what you did not do well. Isn't it? People who are trying to deal with their own negative mindset, you know this. When I don't succeed in something, immediately my mind starts beating myself instead of saying, okay, looks like I messed this up. Now, how can I fix this? We don't do that. Like some of you might. Our major energy goes in beating ourselves rather than immediately pooling our resources to find out how to fix it. This is why I said insight is important. And that's why really I loved the slogan of Lumiere, light and insight. It's the light and insight, that those two words are complete gist of Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita philosophy. That's why we have to start with the insight. Why do we put benchmarks so high that we are never able to reach them? Because we don't know our capability. So we want to be the best. First, find out a little about yourself, then place your benchmarks. No problem. Okay?
We have more questions?
Sure.
Yes, Shweta Singh. एक मिनट अनम्यूट करती हूँ. Yeah, Shweta, बोलिए.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much. So I have decided to be my best friend from today onward. Just wanted to ask, sometimes we get confused with the kind of breathing. So when we are inhaling, it has to be through nose, and when we are exhaling, it has to be through mouth. Am I correct?
Yes. Now, many times in the yoga world, they say breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the nose, which is correct. But what I have realized is that we don't breathe out much. Yeah. So to start with, to get into the rhythm, I have suggested inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, just to increase the volume of exhalation. Because if you try it out yourself, you will inhale very deep, but you will not exhale much. Try it out now. Let's take a moment and see how deep our inhale is and how short our exhale is. Deep. Now exhale. Khatam. You see this? So what happened is you inhaled a lot, but you exhaled less. So you are continuously in a hyperventilated state. Hyperventilated state is a state of stress. This is myth busting, by the way. Like, for example, many yoga teachers will say, breathe in deeply, and they will never tell the students to breathe out completely. Then what happens? After 10 breaths, the students feel lightheaded. Why? Because they have breathed in so much that they are in a hyperventilated state. Then the teacher will say, "Wow, आपकी कुंडलिनी जागरूक हो गई है." Why? Because they are feeling dizzy. So the teacher will say, "Wow, आपके प्राण संचालन बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है." You know, some bullshit like that. It happens a lot. It is not that you just hyperventilated yourself by breathing in too much and not breathing out. So you're like, like floating. Wow, I'm feeling so light, as if I'm floating. Yes, because you hyperventilated yourself. It has nothing to do with Kundalini. It has nothing to do with prana. You just unnecessarily hyperventilated your system. Okay? And that's why I suggested get into the capacity of breathing out longer. Once you do that, then go onto the nose. Then just nose. Breathing out through the mouth is okay, but don't breathe in through the mouth unless required. In your day-to-day life, like when I run on the treadmill, you will be exhaling through the mouth. I purposely do that. When I exhale through the mouth, I can run longer.
That's what I wanted to ask. In fact, like when we are doing a physical exercise, then what is the correct style of breathing?
I would suggest to begin with,
Yeah.
but that's also training for the lungs and nervous system. Like if you are not used, see what will happen is if you're not used to breathing out deeply through the nose, after 15-20 minutes of exercise, again you will feel lightheaded. It happens a lot in yoga classes. People feel lightheaded, then they have to sit down and relax and then get up and do it, the asanas again. That's because they don't. We modern humans, we contemporary humans don't breathe properly. That's why to start with, I've said exhale through the mouth. If you're continuously doing it after 1 month or so, your nervous system will get used to it and then you can breathe through the nose, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta.
Yes, Smita Arora.
One second.
This has been a great experience listening to you for the past 1.5 hours. And thank you, Deepa, for planning for this session. I think, so we have been hearing from Deepa and within the team also, a couple of us do practice yoga, and everybody has their own ways and mechanisms of, like you said, taking care of yourself, investing in yourself in some form of physical exercise and whatever they. But I think what you spoke today was very simple to understand for everybody, very logical. And I think the core thing of your body being your own resource, and Deho Devalaya, I think these two things have stuck in my mind. And consider yourself, your body as your own resource, and therefore doing those 3 things or other 3 things makes so much sense. I really appreciate and I really thank you so much for it was a reassuring thing, and I loved the talk that you gave. I would like to definitely listen to you much more. I will definitely go to your YouTube, like you mentioned, some meditation practices which are there. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I call it Yoga Prasad Flicks.
Okay, thank you.
There are more than 350 videos, so there's a lot of content there.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Yeah. and still being able to communicate in such a simple way. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Smita. Anyone else
Thank
wants
you,
to
Deepa.
ask?
Smita.
Smita Chipalkatti, yes.
Hi. I just want to say that this talk was excellent for where we are right now currently, and it's a great thought starter, a lot of food for thought, and good for the inward journey. I'm really excited to try everything that you have suggested. I do have a question. Are there any? This is pertaining to negative self-talk that happens. Are there any tips or tricks that you can suggest to dial down the negative chatter?
See, what we usually work with is you create an affirmation for yourself. Affirmation. So what is an affirmation? Affirmation is a short positive statement which will immediately pull yourself up.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, if the simple sentence, it could, you make it for yourself, like I love and trust myself. Okay, simple sentence. That's it. So when you realize that you're starting to beat yourself up, immediately that statement should fire itself. I love and trust myself. I love and trust myself. I love and trust myself. I love and trust, like a japa, continuously going on. And then what happens, that thought dies out naturally. But if thought keeps roaming around in your head, then it aggravates. You know, sometimes one thought can really become a volcano if you don't press it down there itself. So create an affirmation or whatever. You know, I love affirmations personally, but you can have a mantra also, whatever. Like for example, you know, in our culture also, when we find something uncertain, immediately what do we say? Ram Bharose. What does it mean? Ram Bharose means I don't have faith in myself. So who do I have faith in? Rama. You see that? So when self-doubt comes up, what do you say? Ram Bharose. Because I don't have confidence in myself, but I have confidence in Rama. So Ram Bharose. So that was the affirmation. So create an affirmation and immediately fire it whenever negative self-talk comes up.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks. Thank you so much for taking this talk. I was really excited about it since we've heard so much about you from Deepa ma'am. And this is very helpful on all the levels that you've discussed. I just had one question. Usually when we do the breathing, they ask us to do like a thoughtless state or, you know, keep your other distractions at bay. Is there some way to get into that state? Any sort of, I don't know, I don't want to use the word tricks, but any sort of help with that?
If there were tricks, almost 7.5 billion of us would have used it by now. Right? I mean, how can I keep thoughts at bay has been a question that humans have asked themselves since prehistoric times. So unfortunately, there is no trick. The only trick is practice. In 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also asked the same question to Krishna. Yes. And the answer of Krishna was Abhyasena tu kaunteya. Abhyasa means continued discipline. Chanchala hi mana Krishna, he says. Arjuna says, Chanchala hi mana, means my mind is so fickle, doesn't stay on one point. Now imagine Arjuna. Remember, we have grown up on his stories of concentration, right? Everybody says, I see the tree, leaf, this, that. Arjuna says, I see the eye of the parrot. Remember the story? But now in the middle of the war, no concentration. Standing there in the Kurukshetra war, Arjuna loses completely his concentration. And then he is asking Krishna, now how do I handle my mind in this situation? Krishna says, sorry, abhyasena tu kaunteya. So, discipline is the only discipline. And it takes time. And meditation is not about thoughtless state. Okay, now again it will be myth busting, which I don't want to do. Because if I sit in meditation thinking I don't want to think, how can there be meditation? Not to think is also a thought. Isn't it? So, mind will not be thoughtless. You just have to direct the thought in the right place. Understand that? Mind, power of mind is like fire. You can sit around it and warm yourself in winter, or take it and burn yourself. These are natural resources. Okay, we just need to know how to handle them. They in themselves are not wrong.
प्रसाद,
Yes.
एक बॉम्ब पे बॉम्ब, बॉम्ब पे बॉम्ब, बॉम्ब पे बॉम्ब चल रहा है, मस्त. Superb, superb.
No problem.
So this is so reassuring, and I know that there is, this is usually a trigger. Prasad is really a phenomenon. He's an institution. So you kind of have 2 hours is like a Chotu trailer, and there's, thankfully for us, there's a lot of stuff that is there that we can go and access for clarifying.
See, sometimes I say, if we want to do everything, when will we let God do things to us? Think about it. If you think you have to manage everything in your life, when will you allow God to manage your life? I remember the line of Samartha Ramdas. You know Samartha Ramdas? He was a saint in the 17th century, one of the gurus of Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. He says, सामर्थ्य आहे चळवळीचे, जो जो करील त्याचे, पण पाहिजे तेथे अधिष्ठान परमेश्वराचे. Means we have a lot of motivation, a lot of fire to achieve things in our life, and we always feel that I will give my 100% and expect life to give us 100% back. But there is that, as they say in French, je ne sais quoi, that X factor that we don't have control on, that we never have control on. And we need to keep that in mind and work our life around. So, not all our desires are going to be fulfilled. Like one of the famous lyricists said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. No? So there will always be that X factor, and we have to live our life keeping in mind that X factor.
I'd just like to share something if everyone is done with the question.
Sure.
So day before, actually, I was having this really bad mental breakdown in a way. So I lost my cool and I was very angry on the inside, and I realized it's also because of multiple factors happening. And at a time like this, we're stuck in one place. So I felt stuck, and instantly I just I do a lot of chanting, so I went into my own space and I kind of took time out for myself, and I went and I chanted, and immediately I felt this relief, and I felt like, okay, now I feel like myself a little more. And even the self talk, like before, when I was breaking down, the kind of self talk I had versus after chanting, and it was a huge difference. Even just giving myself that 10-15 minutes or that half an hour was so beneficial.
Super.
Yeah.
Super. Also, I would like to say that we are blessed to be born in India because we have something called as Bollywood. So just play your favorite songs, Hindi songs, and dance like you're dancing in Ganpati Visarjan. Okay, really dance as if you are, yeah, I mean, you shut your door and you just dance alone if you don't want to gather your family and dance. But dance it out. Dance it out because it will really dissipate that pent up energy. Play the wackiest songs, play the songs that you don't like to see yourself dancing in, and dance like a mad person. Because we are all sitting, we are mobile persons every day, going to work, coming back, it also dissipates the pent up energy. But in the four walls and our energy just locked up. How much will we move? How many Surya Namaskars or whatever will we do? So just dance it out. Just dance it out. Really, this I highly recommend. However you dance doesn't matter, but dance it out.
Thanks for sharing, Disha. I really appreciate that. I hope you're better today. Hi, Rohan. Do you want to say something?
I just want to thank you a lot for starting the week, starting the day and the week, such positivity, and I just hope to keep all of this in mind through the extended period of the lockdown, and hope to get in touch with you soon again.
Thank you, Rohan.
So we will end like I usually end by doing the Shanti mantra.
Okay.
Shanti stays with us. Okay. So inhale. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.